Today we're going to look at trouble codes P0016 and P0017.
This looks like a job for...
Look out!
Check engine light. Blue driver scan tool. Pretty good. Works with an app on your phone. It's like $99, which is pretty darn cheap. And we are going to read the codes, which I've done many times. You can see the scan tool down there has a light that blinks on when you're doing this. So we have P0016, P0017, camshaft position correlation, bank 1, and sensor A and sensor B of bank 1. So it may just be one sensor. Let's look at repair reports require a VIN. Please enter a VIN. Alright, so my vehicle information is entered. VIN number. Click done. Let's see what we've got. Vehicle specs, maintenance, recall, service bulletins. I don't need any of that. So I'm going to read codes, check engine. You can see the scanner blinking down there. To confirm codes, we know that. And let's see what it gives us. Crankshaft position 1, intake camshaft position correlation. Crankshaft balancer bolt not tightened properly. Intake camshaft actuator solenoid has failed. It may be sticking. Valve timing not correct due to problems in the timing chain or the tensioner. That is a possibility. I'm thinking more along the lines of intake camshaft actuator solenoid has failed. May be sticking. And check out this 6 frequently reported fixes. Replaced engine oil. I'm going to do that first because it's due. And exhaust camshaft position actuator solenoid, I'm probably going to replace that just because it's been so long since I've changed it. It's probably due, but I'll check the oil first. Replace timing chain tensioner. That is my next step after the actuator. Replace variable valve timing actuator. Yeah, that's something I could do as well. Reset camshaft timing. I hope it's not that. Now let's take a look at this. This is the same thing. 3 possible causes. Crankshaft position, intake, camshaft position correlation. Crankshaft balancer bolt not tightened properly. I seriously doubt that's the case, but I'll check it out. Intake camshaft actuator solenoid has failed. So it kind of looks like both of them are having troubles, and that might be an oil issue. Somebody replaced the gasoline. Okay. Intake camshaft actuator. Timing chain, replace timing chain guides, replaced engine oil again. Sometimes these will mess up if they don't have the right viscosity oil in the engine, so we'll give that a shot first. Clear the codes, and this is all you have to do is to tap this to clear the codes, and it will clear them. And it runs fine, and the light stays off until you start it again in this case. Let's see how it goes. Alright, what I'm going to do first is change the oil, take out the camshaft actuators, which are under here, and clean those up, stick them back in, see if we can get the code to go away. First thing I got to remove is the air filter box, which is one cable, goes up under here, and one screw, or clamping ring that goes around, band clamp, goes around the intake tube. Then this will come off out of the way. The air box is removed, and these are your 2 camshaft actuators right here that I'm going to go ahead and take out and clean. I have the engine oil draining into the pan below right now. These just have a 10mm bolt. They're kind of cigar shaped. Just take the bolt out, pull it out, and I'll give them a good cleaning and stick them back in. Well, this is interesting. Just pulled the intake one out, and just on a side note, you're going to have an open hole here directly into your engine, so make sure nothing goes down in there other than this thing. This looks like it's got RTV on it, which is not a good thing. Probably from the rebuild, but that, not sure if that caused any problems or not, but it's not going back in. And these are the little screens here that you want to clean with some parts cleaner is all I'm going to use on it. And then put it back in. Make sure this O-ring's got a little bit of oil on it before it goes in and it's not damaged in any way. Okay, the oil is out of the engine, old oil. New oil's going in, and new filter is going in. This is the old one, so I'll replace that with that one, fill it up, and then clean off my camshaft actuators. Keep a rag handy when you're doing this, because there will be spills. And here's a new filter, STP, good filter. I like it better than some others. And it comes with a new O-ring for your cap. You do not have to replace that. That's just in case you need it. If it's broken or worn out, whatever. If you're not getting any leaks from that and it's still in good shape, go ahead and reuse it. This one's on 216,000 miles. This one's probably been replaced once, just because. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean out this cap, because this has a pressure regulation valve in it that most oil filters, canister type, have built in. So in this particular model, it's in the cap, and this is pretty old, and that is one of the remedies for these two codes that I've seen online. So this cap may be causing that problem because it's not regulating the oil pressure correctly. So we'll see. I'm going to give it a clean out. I put some degreaser in there. I'm going to wash it out real good, put it back in, and this will be one of the items I change just in case this doesn't take care of it. While you're screwing things in and you have an opportunity to look at things, Here is an upper radiator hose I just noticed. It's got a pretty good slice in it right there. That's gonna be changed today. If you see something like that, change it out, because that is not good. Gonna leave you somewhere. Okay, I've got the exhaust side out, the black one. This one looks okay. Looks pretty clean. I'll clean it up as well and put it back in. Here's a little note. Inside here, this is where the fastener goes through. It's got a black grommet inside of it. Sometimes that comes out. Just make sure it goes right back in when you're done. Sometimes it'll stay on the bolt. Okay, both of the actuators are installed. Now what I'm thinking is that one or two of these may be bad, or the crankshaft position sensor might be bad. I don't know. So, given the fact that this engine has 216,000 miles on it, I'm going to go ahead, if this doesn't fix it, I'm going to go ahead and change these two actuators and change the crankshaft position sensor. I've already got the crankshaft position sensor. That is down there, and we'll have to get to it from from underneath. These would be just a piece of cake, and crankshaft position sensor was like 40 bucks. These are probably around there, a little less. Word to the wise, before you start this, make sure you put the air box back on and plug it back in, or else you get another code. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start it up, see if the codes go away on their own just from changing the oil and wiping off those camshaft actuators, getting rid of that little sliver of RTV. And if it doesn't go away, I'm going to clear the codes with the Blue Driver app, and then I'm going to drive it for a little bit, shut it off, and then turn it back on, because the codes will clear. The engine light will stay off for a while, but when you shut it off and turn it back on, it comes right back. So here we go. The oil's in. It's got 4.5 quarts. Going to hit connect up to the top. Got the blue light flashing down there on the unit. And they're talking to each other. So you've got live data. There's all kinds of different things you can monitor on this, and there's a you hit the more button, it'll tell you what's supported and what you can monitor and what you can't monitor. So we're going to go back to the scan tool, read codes, check engine light. Those are my codes. Going to clear them. Which it won't. It says your vehicle did not allow the codes to be cleared while the engine was running. Yeah, you're not supposed to clear codes while the engine is running. However, it did make my check engine light go off, which is interesting. It's done that before. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. Turn the key to run. Scan. Check engine light, and okay, I still got the codes. They are there. So since it's not running, I'm going to clear the codes. It only clears the codes, it doesn't fix anything. And they tell you that. Check engine light still on, key off, key back on, and check engine light still on. Normally it goes off. Yeah, and it's off. Alright. Running it for a little bit. The engine runs fine. I would have a real hard time believing that the chain skipped a tooth. So let's shut it off. Normally, it comes right back on. It stayed off. Alright, so I'm going to go drive it for a little bit. Go get a new upper radiator hose. Then I'll come back and let's see how it does. Never mind. There it is, still back on. So it's not the engine oil and it's not those actuator units that are plugged up or anything. I think I need to replace those. More to come. Here's something interesting. I just shut the car off, turned it back on. 1 confirmed code instead of 2 confirmed codes. So this is camshaft position sensor P0016, and that's the intake, so that's the gray one. So just to be thorough or whatever and replace these things in pairs, I'm going to go ahead and buy 2 of those camshaft position sensors, the actuators, and I'm going to replace the crankshaft position sensor and let you know what happens. Okay, here's a crank position sensor. It's like $40 at O'Reilly, I think is where I got it. Unfortunately, it's down there underneath the oil filter housing, and you can't get to it from underneath because the starter's in the way, so you got to take the starter off or take the intake off, and I've elected to take the intake off, going through the top. So you got to take this hose off. This is the connector. You got to make sure it goes right back here, because this connector will go right on the fuel injection connector. They're interchangeable, which really aggravates me because they shouldn't be. Anyway, it's down there, and they're both kind of in the same vicinity right there, so they will interchange, and that's not a good thing. So I've marked this one throttle body, and that's your throttle body, your throttle actuator, drive-by-wire system. Anyway, so I'm taking that off. I'm going to take the bolts off for the intake, and that'll come right out. There's a hose down there I got to take off that goes to the vacuum booster, and that thing will come right out. Okay, throttle body's off. This is a good time to clean it. Actually, use throttle body cleaner. Don't use carb cleaner. And beware of this gasket here. It's an O-ring type. Don't lose it. Just FYI, there's a bolt down here you got to get out. It just holds this bracket. Bolts right into the intake. 10mm, you got to get that out. Take off this connector, and then you just have the bolts in the intake. There's 8 of them. Up, 4 up, 4 down. Keep track of your bolts. Correction, on the intake bolts there's 4 on the bottom, 3 on the top. 2 of them are nuts. Alright, taking the intake off, I'm going to have to remove the fuel rail too to get this thing to pull up out of here to get clearance. But here's something to watch out for. See this gasket right here? That's supposed to be in here, in the intake. So I got to make sure I take that off of there, put it back in the intake before I put this back together. So I'm going to take the fuel rail off, which is just these 2 bolts. Then that'll move up out of the way from the injectors. There's these clips that I got to take off to get that to come away from the injectors, and while I'm in here I might just replace those. Again, this is an 06. These never been changed. They're working fine, but they're plastic and they're fuel injectors, 216,000 miles. We'll see. Okay, word to the wise. I've got this out. I'm going to go ahead and take the injectors out of the cylinder head with this, just so I don't have to open up the fuel system, because it's going to spray. It's still under pressure. I didn't shut it off that long ago, and I'm not going to pull the fuel pressure fuse, so I'm just going to take the injectors out. They haven't been in there. There you go. Comes out just that easy. So this will move up out of the way. Now I'll clean all the O-rings off and whatnot before I put them back in. See, and they're 2 pieces. This one actually came out with it. See, these are 2 different pieces. You can see one with and one without. Just FYI. Okay, intake's out. You want to make sure before you put all this back together, all this is clean. There is a lot of sand. Notice I'm pushing it away from the intake. You do not want that in there, or else it goes right in your cylinders and causes premature wear and havoc and whatever. Now my crankshaft sensor is right down there. That is underneath. This is your oil pressure sensor. That I have a video on because I had one of those that was leaking right through it and through the connector. That was a weird oil leak to chase down. And this is, I think, your anti-knock sensor cable. But the one we want is way in the back there. It's just a 10mm bolt, and it pops out and the new one pops in like I showed you before. This is it. This can leave you stranded. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it, put a little bit of oil on the O-ring as always, pop it back in, put everything back together and see what she does. Now, like I said, I noticed this radiator hose has a split in it, and it's pretty bad. I said, take a look around while you're in here wrenching a bolt out or in whatever, and just get a general view of how things look, because your face is right in here. Now that happens with mechanics too, and sometimes you get a phone call and say, hey, while we were in there, this is what we found. That's where the trust factor comes in. It'd be great if they could take a picture of it and send it to you before you go ahead and okay the repair. If you know what you're looking at, that's good. I would know what I was looking at, but you just never know. Find that honest mechanic, talk to people, get some references, send them a Christmas card. Be very good to one you can trust. Okay, the old sensor's out. New one is installed. I had to use channel locks to get it out. It was in there pretty good. And there's the new one, right back there. Okay, reassembly is reverse order. Keeping in mind things you got to replace. Everything's cleaned off here. There's no sand, and I got to replace. This is even worse than I thought. That's the next thing. Okay, everything's back together. I did one last check, make sure it's all good. Now we'll start it up. See how she acts. Now I just changed the crankshaft position sensor, so let's see what that does. Alright, our light is still on, which is pretty much telling me that wasn't it, but I needed to change that out anyway. So let's go back to blue driver. Back to scan. Not connected. Oh, I gotta get back to the home screen. Alright, let's see. Read codes. Check engine light. Same codes, so it has got to be those actuators. And if you remember last time, we only had one code. This time we've got two. So tell you what, I'm going to clear it. It appears your vehicle oh, here's something. Traction control light just came on. You can't clear it while it's running, dummy. I know that. Alright, let's do this. Now we got 4 codes. Mass or volume airflow sensor. Oh, I think I forgot to connect something. The most basic of things I forgot to plug in. Okay, that's plugged in. Here we go again. Okay, just turn the key back on. Everything is connected now. And traction control light is off, which is nice. Because the thing, if you drive around this car with the traction control light on, it shifts really hard. Alright, gotta connect back to blue driver. Alright, let's do read codes one more time. Check engine. Still got that. Alright, so I'm gonna clear everything. And we have no confirmed codes this time. 4 pending codes, which are all the same. I'm going to clear the pending codes. Alright, everything's clear. Now, shut it off, start it, and check engine light goes off as what it did before. Okay, that's good. And then it would come back on later. Alright, I just ran this again. One impending code, P0016 Crankshaft position correlation bank 1 sensor A. So that is the intake camshaft position correlation. So I'm going to replace both of those camshaft actuators. Intake camshaft actuator solenoid has failed. It may be sticking. Yep, I'm going to replace both of them just to be safe, as well as get that upper radiator hose. Alright, so if this thing goes the way it has been, when I start it back up now, the light will come on. Well, it's not doing that. There it is. Okay, let's see what it says. Alright, let's go back. It's back button. Read codes, check engine, and it is both of them. Alright. I'm only going to replace both of these because I think because they're old and they need to be replaced. What I'm thinking is that possibly the tensioner, timing chain tensioner, has a spring in it, and that spring is broken and it's not keeping that chain at tension, which will do the same thing. So it's odd that both of both of these are showing up at the same time. I think that chain tensioner has probably got a broken spring in it. Those are cheap, but a pain in the butt to install. Easy to get out, but a pain to install. More to come. Okay. I went to O'Reilly and picked up new camshaft actuator solenoids. I'll say that 3 times fast. Anyway, the connectors on the existing ones that I showed you are gray for intake, black for exhaust. Not so with these. Both connectors are black. So what the guy did for me is he marked the boxes, exhaust and intake. He just verified the numbers for me. So I got to make sure they go in like that, and then maybe I'll mark them in some way, put a zip tie around the intake or something, a white one that tells me that's where that goes. Okay, I put a black zip tie on the exhaust side, real small one, should not interfere with the connector, and in a white one, which I had a bigger one, but I put it down lower so it doesn't interfere. Help me remember if I ever have to take these out again. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil on these O-rings and then install them, and then start it up. Hopefully that'll take care of it. If it doesn't take care of it, the next step in this process is to take the valve cover off and see if I can tell if the timing chain has jumped a tooth. Probably more likely I'll take the timing chain tensioner out and see if I've seen them before when the spring is broken inside of it, so I'll disassemble that, see if it looks okay. Then what I've been dreading is taking the timing cover off and retiming everything and hoping it doesn't skip a tooth again That's the worst case scenario. A tooth is okay, but the thing runs too good for that, I think, to have happened. So let us find out. One thing that sucks is these parts are not made in America. I'm pretty sure I saw on this, yep, sure enough, made where everything else is made these days. Anyway, one thing I don't like about it already, 8mm bolt instead of a 10. Everything on this thing is 10. Okay, here we go again. Gonna give it a shot. The actuator solenoids have been replaced, both of them. And we want to get the blue driver going again. Got the blue light. Sorry, it's dark. I've been working on this thing off and on today. Alright, blue driver is connecting. Connected. Okay, we want to clear the codes. I don't know if you guys can see this with that light. This action clears the codes. Yes, clear pending and confirmed. Alright, so we're clearing codes. There's no codes. So we're going to go back. Turn this off. Turn it back on. Start shoot. Oh, check engine light went right off. Ah, it did that before. Nothing yet. Good sign. Now typically, I've done this. I shut it off. And I started again and then it came back on. Let's do live on this. Ah, look what we got. Alright. That tells me it's the timing chain. Either the tensioner or it's actually skipped a tooth, and if it's skipped a tooth, that's going to totally blow my day tomorrow, because I will have to take the timing cover off and retime everything, and then probably replace the tensioner. I'll probably go ahead and do that, just because it allowed it to skip a tooth anyway. Ah, that's aggravating. Let's see, go back to scan tool. Read codes, check engine, same situation, same thing. Alright, so I've changed the oil, I've changed the crankshaft position sensor, changed the oil filter. I suppose it could be the valve inside of that cap. Valve timing not correct due to problems in the timing chain or the tensioner. That's probably what it is. Replaced engine oil, replaced exhaust camshaft position sensor, replaced timing chain guide, replaced timing chain tensioner, replaced variable valve timing actuator with, I did that already. Reset camshaft timing. 6 other. Adjust camshaft timing, replaced engine oil with filter. Oh, engine oil filter. So that's a possibility that the valve in the cap is bad. It's 10 years old. I've never actually had that situation come up, but with my luck, it'll probably be something like that. Then, oh, this thing's horrible. You can't read it. Anyway, reposition timing chain. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Well, I'll get into that tomorrow. Start with the tensioner, and then swap that out.